Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. The full meaning of that statement must be understood. If the meaning were understood, man would have no problem in accomplishing his aims. Most men believe that nothing is impossible to God, that God could do anything if he chose to do it. Some man believes he has faith in God and prays to God for that which he wants. If his prayers is not granted, he thinks that he either did not pray long enough or hard enough, or that God chose to withhold his request. However, faith is the actual substance of that which is hoped for. It is the evidence of the thing you want which you do not see in the outer world. That which you want to do or be has already been created. Therefore, it actually does exist. It is possible to bring into your world anything in creation by your belief that you have already have it. Faith that what you want is already a fact is the means by which you activate the invisible state. That state then is later reflected in your outer world. Creation is finished. God can create nothing that is not already existent. Faith or belief that you already are or have that which you desire is the only means by which to experience your desires. No limitation is imposed on that which you can have except your failure to assume possession of the quality or thing desired. How the law works. The law of identical harvest or cause and effect is impersonal and can be used to bring into your experience anything you can conceive. Since creation is finished, every possible state already exists. Your fusion with a particular state, imagining with feeling what you would experience were you in that state, causes that state to be projected on your screen of space. This law cannot be changed or broken and always reproduces in your outer world the exact duplicate of any belief you consent to as true. If you would change your world, you must change your beliefs, since consciousness is the only cause. You cannot blame others for the conditions which presently exist, nor can fate or chance be the cause of that which you are now experiencing. Nothing can alter the course of events in your life except a change in your consciousness. Whatever is appearing in your world now, although it appears real, unalterable fact, is a reflection of previous activity in your own consciousness. Therefore, a change in consciousness will reflect that change in the future just as surely as past beliefs reflect the present. Man is pure formless consciousness, and that which he conceives himself to be is an illusion or reflection of the particular ideas he holds true. These illusions exist only so long as man focuses his attention upon them and gives them life. The conscious mind forms beliefs and opinions from the evidence of the senses or the perceived outer world. The creative power within each of us accepts as true that which the conscious mind impresses upon it. Your creative power takes those ideas which are thought of with feeling and projects them in your outer world. It is important to remember that not all thoughts are creative. Only those which are believed to be true or which are joined with feeling create the circumstances and events that you will encounter. Therefore, emotions such as anger, fear, love, or joy are creative. You must guard the emotions which you allow to enter your consciousness, just as you would discriminate in allowing a stranger into your room. You cannot allow negative emotions to fill your mind without suffering the consequences of experiencing the state with which those emotions are joined. Fear of loss brings loss into your world. You could take every outward precaution to be guard against loss. But if you fear loss, you will certainly experience it in your affairs. Feelings of love and joy create happy events and loving relationships. Feeling abundant bring riches into your life. A person who is unloving or suspicious and feels that others take advantage of him draws to himself that which he believes. No matter what he does externally, his relationships with others will reflect that which he accepts as true. He may want a loving relationship, but he can draw to himself only that which he is conscious of being. Like literally does attract like. As within, so without. Consciousness is a reality, and that which is perceived by our senses and appears so real is but the shadow of that which we believe ourselves and the world to be. Conscious use of the law. At this time, I'm going to talk about who I am and what I am doing. If that sounds ego-centered, it is. There have been 66 books written about who I am. I'm going to quote some statements from a few of those books. You have heard many of these quotes but didn't realize that they were talking about the being that I am. The first quote is taken from the book of Exodus. Here, Moses is talking to God and he said, "When I go back to the people, who shall I say has sent me?" The voice answers, "Tell them I am has sent me unto you. That is my name forever, and the name I shall be known by throughout all generations." The 10 Commandments state, "Thou shalt not use the name of the Lord thy God in vain." Shalt not is a command. Shalt not means you must not. It means that no circumstances you must do it. That name is I am. Here Moses is talking to God and he said, "When I go back to the people, who shall I say has sent me?" The voice answers, "Tell them I am has sent me unto you. That is my name forever, and the name I shall be known by throughout all generations." The 10 Commandments state, "Thou shalt not use the name of the Lord thy God in vain." Shalt not is a command. Shalt not means you must not. It means that under no circumstances you must do it. That name is I am. Now, first of all, we have all forgotten his name. We say, "I am," hundreds of times a day, and we don't know we are using the name of God. Secondly, we try to break the commandment all day long. We pay no attention to what we say following I am. When we say I am and follow it with something we would not like in our world, we are using the name of the Lord, but not in vain. The Bible states we cannot use the name in vain. Nothing we say preceded by I am is in vain. That's his name. It is God himself, and because it is God, it is creative. God gave us himself. He is I am, and that is who I am. I can never forget that I am. I may forget who I am or where I am, but I can never forget that I exist. Whenever I say I am, creating something, prayer is believing that we already received that which we ask. When I say I am attaching my awareness of being to something. Now you can lie and not believe what you are saying, but you cannot believe something about I am and not create it. We are creating morning, noon, and night by our I am statements. If you say, "I don't feel well," and you believe it, you are perpetuating illness in your life. You must change those statements to "I feel wonderful." We were taught, "Let the weak man say, I am strong," but you can't say it like a parrot. We have to pray, believing that it is true, and then we will receive. First, we must be like the watchman at the gate. We must watch every thought that contains I am. If you are observant, you will see that you have created every circumstance and experience of your life. Another important word to watch is if. The conscious mind is very subtle in expressing doubt, Satan or the devil. We may be able to keep our minds focused on what we want by using positive I statements. If we are not careful, we may let a little if sneak in without recognizing its implication. We would say, "I feel wonderful," but then follow it with, "If the pain continues, however, I will see a doctor on Tuesday." Ifs are always followed by something negative, and that is simply doubt creeping in to steal the good seed we have sown. Remove the word if from your vocabulary, as it is not productive of that which you would like to reap. If puts everything in the past or future tense, and I always experience what I believe I am. I am is not future tense. Getting well is not being well. I must believe that I am already what I want to be. Remember, every word that goeth forth from my mouth shall not return unto me void. Do you believe it? In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. What's his name? I am. So begin to monitor every word that you say. Do you see a pattern? Don't the circumstances of your life reflect what you have been saying? You have been misusing the creative power that is God. Now that you are aware of what you have been doing, watch every word and make it conform to what you wish to bring it into your life. Eventually, you will have faith that what you are stating, though there is no outward evidence to support it, is a fact in consciousness and will shortly project itself so that you may experience it in the outer. Knowing that God actually became you because He is I am, you must realize that you are using your power to create every time you use that name. Choice, free will. Creation is finished and you have free will to choose the state you will occupy. Therefore, it is important to determine the ideas from which you think. Any concept that is accepted as true will externalize itself in your outer world. Choice of what you will focus your attention upon is the only free will that you can exercise. Once a thought is accepted and charged with feeling, the creative power within proceeds to externalize. Whether your assumptions are conscious or unconscious, they direct all action to their fulfillment. It is a delusion that other than assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you can do anything to aid its realization. Your own wonderful human imagination determines the means it will use to bring your assumptions. Each of us is subject to a sea of ideas. We listen to the radio, watch the news on television, or hear some gossip. If what we observe calls forth an emotion, we have reacted and thereby planted a seed which will sprout at some future time. Thoughts do not reside into the past, rather they advance into the future to confront us so that we may see that which we have planted, either wisely or unwisely. It is a worthwhile exercise to awake in the morning and imagine yourself at the end of the day, having accomplished all that you wanted and feeling happy and contented. If there is a situation that you will encounter later in the day that is of concern to you, spend a few moments imagining the outcome you wish to experience. These imaginal activities will now advance into your future to reveal the harvest you so wisely planted. Desire. Desire is a gift of God. Man is required to do nothing more than accept the gift by simply giving thanks for the unseen reality before he observes it in his outer world. Through desire, God beckons us to lift our awareness to higher and higher levels of consciousness. During our journey through this dream of life, it is necessary to experience all possible states, so that we may return as God, the Father, but enhanced by having experienced both good and evil. The desire to do more, to be more, and to have more than you are presently expressing is the urge for expansion. You may question whether a desire to kill or injure someone can be inspired by God. The answer is that no man actually desires to kill or harm another. He may wish to be free from that seeming other, and through his limited understanding, he feels that the only way he can achieve some freedom is by destroying the other. Man does not realize that the desire for freedom contains within itself the power and the means to fulfill itself. Because of his lack of faith, man distorts these gifts from God. He does not realize that God, the wisdom and power within him, has ways that he, as man, knows not of, and those ways are past finding out. Learn to be grateful for the desires you have been given. They already exist and are ready for embodiment in your world. You are not called upon to do anything to aid their realization except to free your mind of any doubt as to how they will come about and completely accept them as you would a gift from a loved one. Be observant. The importance of objectively observing your thoughts cannot be stressed enough. It is easy to slip into thought patterns that can hinder us in achieving our desires. It is then becomes easy to blame others or attribute our frustrations to second causes. Being a rather impatient person, I am usually anxious to get home after work, and I particularly dislike waiting in lines. I began to notice that no matter what time I chose to pick up a few items at the market, I would encounter problems at the check stand, such as price checks needing to be done, people writing checks who had trouble locating their identification, and various other kinds of delay. I found myself dreading those occasions, and I wanted to do something about this annoying situation. As I began to observe my thoughts, I found that while standing in line, I would say to myself, I always have to wait. Then I realized that those statements made over and over again had created that which I did not wish to experience. I consciously changed that statement to, no matter when I stop at the market, I never have to wait. Of course, that new statement has worked just as well as the old negative one. As you begin to observe your thoughts, do not be discouraged if you find that your inner conversations do not match the way you would feel if you have achieved your goal. You must first become aware of what you are doing with your creative power before you can begin to change it. If you ask to go down to the potter's house and see what he is doing, if the vessel is spoiled, then rework it into the kind of vessel that will please you. As you begin observing your thoughts, you cannot avoid the realization that you alone are the cause of all that comes into your world. You alone can change it. Appearances, that which is confronting you in your world now, is the result of your past thoughts, beliefs, feelings, and imaginal activity. These experiences will continue in being as long as you give them life through your conscious awareness of them. You must disregard the evidence of your senses as it pertains to any undesirable condition in your life. You must imagine and feel that you have already attained that which you want to experience, rather than that which you do not want to continue in being. This may appear difficult, yet you have probably exercised this principle unconsciously to produce. You must disregard the evidence of your senses as it pertains to any undesirable condition in your life. You must imagine and feel that you have already attained that which you want to experience, rather than that which you do not want to continue in being. This may appear difficult, yet you have probably exercised this principle unconsciously to produce negative results. When I was in my early 20s, I found myself in a situation that was very unpleasant to me and I wanted to get out of it. After attending a lecture by Neville, I waited to speak to him afterwards. I briefly told him of my unhappy circumstances and was hoping he would offer some advice as to how to change them. He smiled at me and said, "Don't accept it." At that time in my life, I did not fully grasp what Neville had been teaching. I thought he had misunderstood my question and I tried to clarify my problem by stating that I had already made the choice to be in the situation and I found so unpleasant. Neville again smiled and said, "Don't accept it." I left his presence quite frustrated, thinking he had not understood my problem. I continued to read the 2 books I had by Neville. I gradually understood that regardless of the circumstances which surrounded me, I did not need to accept them as final. I began to imagine what I wanted rather than focus my thoughts on my negative surroundings. An event took place 2 weeks after I began my imaginal acts that was instrumental in bringing about my heart's desire 5 months later, that of a brand new home. Meanwhile, the situation that had been so depressing to me improved, and I spent the next 5 months planning what I would do in my new home.